Here in the chicken yard today, working on a fun project this morning that I'd love to share with folks. I've alluded to this project in the past, but I'm finally making the time to really develop it. It's about the idea of taking the marginal edge, the fence line of our chicken yard, and developing some really interesting gardens that can provide some fresh greens for our hens, some nursery stock for us, and a lot more. So let me explain what I'm getting into. If this channel is brand new to you, check out our chicken playlist where it gives you a little bit of a sense of the wacky but wonderful scenario we've got running here. It's a 10th acre front yard that is a chicken composting operation and generates mountains of compost for us and really healthy and happy hens. But we've got some marginal edges to try to figure out some interesting designs with. We built this fence about 6 years ago now out of black locust that I harvested from a local woodlot and split and peeled, and then some orchard fence that we bartered with some folks. So cost was reasonable. It's lasted very well. It's worked very well for us. And you can see on the outside of it, we're developing some pretty complex and rich gardens for us. There's currants and rhubarb and grapes and goji berries and thornless blackberries and all these amazing, wonderful crops. The incredible amount of fertility that's happening in this space is just like rocket fuel for all these plants out here. The challenging part is we want to offer this sort of abundance to our hens, but if we simply plant it on the inside of the fence, they would obliterate it right away. So on the inside, we've got some ideas that have been working pretty well. So for example, here's chicken wire that I mounted loosely. It's a little scrappy. A lot of what we do is pretty scrappy. Some old baling twine holding it up from flopping down. And you can see that as long as we commit to good, vigorous shrub layers in here. So for example, we've got blackcap raspberries, black currants, and gooseberries all through here. They do pretty well. They can tolerate some scratching from the chickens. You can see we're doing another trial this season. I've got large pots in here, in this case with Jerusalem artichokes, with the hope that they don't scratch the surface too much and the sunchokes can do their thing. But it'd be great to be able to provide some incredible greens for our hens, like Swiss chard and kale and lettuce that they can just basically browse all day, every day. But how do we keep them from destroying it before it has a chance to grow? So the solution I'm working with right now is pretty straightforward, very low cost. It's actually in the spirit of trying to clean up the joint. There's some old chicken wire that was left over, and I realized, well, it's just been sitting there for a few years. Let's put this into use. And so what I did is folded it over so it's a little bit stronger and used some scrap pieces of wood to batten it down with really heavy-duty exterior-grade screws to the locust upright posts. I hammered in some stakes to kind of hold it in so the belly of this bed would be supported a bit. But again, pretty scrappy, pretty loose, but it seems like it's going to hold up pretty nicely. You can see it's also an opportunity to clean up old bones and sticks and debris from the yard and bury those at the bottom, making these basically hugel mounds. Our hens are very happy to be involved in this project. They actively help to smooth out the top of this soil, looking for worms and all sorts of fun things. But the question might very easily arise, well, okay, you're making these raised beds in here and you want to grow Swiss chard and lettuce. These chickens will destroy that before it has a chance. So the next layer to this, very straightforward, is this bird netting. I found this at a yard sale for $2, $3 for a spool of all these sections, these oddball sections. And what I did is just trimmed it with some scissors, tied it off with some old hay bale twine in a few key spots to hold it up, and cut it so that it droops down below the bottom of this. And I have one here that's just hanging down, and another one where I went for some real fancy stuff and actually tied some sticks and debris on the bottom to weight it so that it's harder for the hens to get in. Now, I'd set this in motion about 3 weeks ago with this one bed that was just a rough sketch. And the reason why I'm evolving it and why I'm documenting it now is I can see that just with this weight and this mesh here, this soil has not been interacted with by the hens at all since I dropped this in. So that tells me, I see all these little brassicas and grasses, mint root, all sorts of weeds, so to speak. I could probably just let this continue on and it would provide some nice forage for them. But I think what would be nice is to go ahead and take these sections, completely fill them with rich compost and seed them out very deliberately. And now that we know that this mesh is here and it will keep the hens from hopping in, If this was filled with compost and had chard, maybe lettuces coming out of the side, every green that was close enough to the edge that a beak could get it would get gotten. But the core of the plant should be able to stay there and do very well. In this one, I put a little sweet potato slip the other day, and I noticed no hens have gotten in there. I think they would obliterate that if they had the chance. So maybe we'll put some more sweet potatoes with the idea that those vines could sprawl over and splash out, and the hens can keep them pruned back, so to speak. We put in some sweet peas just on the outside of the fence, so those will climb and will give some nice crops for us, and we can also pick some for the hens. But really I want to focus on the big leafy greens, maybe some old Swiss chard seed, some kale seed that's saved. We've got some really amazing leaf lettuce, some oak leaf lettuce that's pretty wonderful. So we'll sow this all out today, get it moving, and I'll do an update video once we've got all these beds filled. They've got the little bird netting simply draped over them with a little weight, and we'll show how this works. But I thought folks with fencing around their chicken yard might be interested in this process. Lots more to fill in here, but we've got an area in the back of the compost system where I want to dig down anyway to make a better silt trap for when we get heavy rains. So I'm going to dig that subsoil out, pour that in here. Maybe you've got a spot where you want to dig a pond by hand and mix it with some compost. That'll be a great source of lots of soil. But in between every post, there can be some old chicken wire, some stakes, and some battens to hold it together, and some old bird netting to protect it from the hens. And I think we can have some insane gardens for them. The all-you-can-eat salad bar for the chicken buffet. Thanks for watching.